Hello, welcome to Other Perspectives. I'm Nancy Kaplan. I'm pleased to have as my guest tonight Ted Annis, a longtime Ann Arbor resident, active member of our community, a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist. Ted has been on the board of the Ann Arbor Transportation Authority since February of 2005. During the 5 years, he has served as chair of the Planning and Development Committee and currently serves as treasurer. Ted is known for his preference for efficient and cost-effective business operations. Welcome, Ted. And I understand that you would like to make a brief statement before we start with the questions.
Yes, thank you for having me, Nancy, and yes, I would. I need to make it clear that I'm very happy to be here on Other Perspectives and give you my perspective. Although I'm on the board of the AATA, and although I'm its treasurer, and although I'm a committee member, I am not speaking on behalf of the AATA. So I need to make that clear. I'm giving you my perspective on things, and I'm hoping that it's helpful.
Oh, thank you, Ted. I'm sure it will be helpful, and I look forward to this. So then let's begin, not going into the controversy. Let's start with a little bit of history of the AATA. Maybe you can give an overview of its origins and organization, something about the millage that we currently have, how long ago it started, relationship with the city, that kind of thing.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Goes back a way.
Yes.
In 1963, the state of Michigan passed some legislation, became known as Act 55, and Act 55 enabled entities to become a public transportation entity, or a political entity to set up a public transportation entity called an authority, okay? So that was in Act 55. In 1968, the city of Ann Arbor actually used Act 55, and it set up the Ann Arbor Transportation Authority. And it was originally funded out of their general fund. So it had no separate millage. And they brought in buses and they got the thing started. In 1973, the activists in Ann Arbor behind transportation had a millage passed, or they put a millage on the ballot and the millage passed. So in 1973, the citizens of Ann Arbor voted in a millage of 2.5 mils, which was to go toward public transportation. That millage is a perpetual millage, which I'll talk about later. That was unfortunate. It may sound good, and it sounded good at the time, but to my way of thinking as a businessman, that was unfortunate. I'll get into that later on in our interview. Well, in 1974, the city of Ann Arbor decided to keep some of that millage. Or maybe they decided to keep it in 1973. I can't get all the details. And there was a lawsuit.
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of the lawsuit, there was an agreement. And the agreement looks like this. The city of Ann Arbor will collect the millage. They will keep 1% of the millage, of the amount, okay, for their service fee, which is a very, very reasonable situation. And they are now required to send all of the millage to the AATA. So let me make it clear. The AATA does not have a millage. The city of Ann Arbor has a millage for transportation.
Right.
Okay.
So what are some of the, in big pictures, the funding sources that we have, without getting into the details or the amount, just the big picture funding sources?
Big picture funding sources are this. The biggest funding source for the $25.4 million AATA budget is, in fact, the millage that I just talked about. The second largest funding source is the state assistance. The third largest funding source is fares. And the fourth largest funding source is federal dollars.
Okay. All right, good. So-
There's some other things, but
Yeah,
that's
just
it.
so we have an overview.
Sure.
And maybe you could tell me, do you know the reason why, what, in 2008, it was brought to my attention that it used to say on our tax bill, the AATA, and now it says, as of 2008, it says mass transit. Do you know of anything about that being changed?
I know that it was changed.
Okay, do you know the reason or the intent?
I don't want to second guess intent.
Oh,
so
okay.
Why don't I dodge
Okay.
that one? Okay.
Okay.